Episode 119. They joined the queue of people being signed out by Filch, occasionally catching each other's eye and grinning shiftily, but not talking to each other. Harry was relieved when they reached the fresh air, finding it easier to walk along in silence than just stand there looking awkward. It was a fresh, breezy sort of day, and as they passed the Quidditch stadium, Harry glimpsed Ron and Ginny skimming over the stands and felt a horrible pang that he was not up there with them.
"You really miss it, don't you?"
said Cho. He looked around and saw her watching him. Yeah, sighed Harry, I do.
"Remember the first time we played against each other in the third year?" she asked him.
Yeah, said Harry, grinning. You kept blocking me.
"And Wood told you not to be a gentleman and knock me off my broom if you had to," said Cho, smiling reminiscently. "I heard he got taken on by Pride of Portee, is that right?"
No, it was Puddlemere United. I saw him at the World Cup last year.
"Oh, I saw you there too, remember? We were on the same campsite. It was really good, wasn't it?"
The subject of the Quidditch World Cup carried them all the way down the drive and out through the gates. Harry could hardly believe how easy it was to talk to her. No more difficult, in fact, than talking to Ron and Hermione. And he was just starting to feel confident and cheerful when a large gang of Slytherin girls passed them, including Pansy Parkinson.
"Potter and Chang!"
Screeched Pansy to a chorus of snide giggles.
"Ooh, Chang, I don't think much of your taste. At least Diggory was good looking."
They sped up, talking and shrieking in a pointed fashion, with many exaggerated glances back at Harry and Cho, leaving an embarrassed silence in their wake. Harry could think of nothing else to say about Quidditch, and Cho, slightly flushed, was watching her feet. So, where do you want to go? Harry asked as they entered Hogsmeade. The high street was full of students ambling up and down, peering into the shop windows and messing about together on the pavements.
"Oh, I don't mind," said Cho, shrugging. Shall we just have a look in the shops or something?"
They wandered toward Dervish and Bangs. A large poster had been stuck up in the window, and a few Hogsmeaders were looking at it. They moved aside when Harry and Cho approached, and Harry found himself staring once more at the 10 pictures of the escaped Death Eaters. The poster, "By order of the Ministry of Magic," offered 1,000 galleon reward to any witch or wizard with information relating to the capture of any of the convicts pictured.
"It's funny, isn't it?"
said Cho in a low voice, also gazing up at the pictures of the Death Eaters.
"Remember when that Sirius Black escaped and there were Dementors all over Hogsmeade looking for him? And now 10 Death Eaters are on the loose and there aren't Dementors anywhere."
Yeah, said Harry, tearing his eyes away from Bellatrix Lestrange's face to glance up and down the high street. Yeah, it is weird. He was not sorry that there were no Dementors nearby, but now he came to think of it, their absence was highly significant. They had not only let the Death Eaters escape, they were not bothering to look for them. It looked as though they really were outside Ministry control now. The 10 escaped Death Eaters were staring out of every shop window he and Cho passed. It started to rain as they passed Scrivenshafts. Cold, heavy drops of water kept hitting Harry's face and the back of his neck.
Do you want to get a coffee?"
said Cho tentatively as the rain began to fall more heavily. Yeah, all right, said Harry, looking around. Where?
"Oh, there's a really nice place just up here. Haven't you ever been to Madame Puttyfoot's?"
she said brightly, and she led him up a side road into a small tea shop that Harry had never noticed before. It was a cramped, steamy little place where everything seemed to have been decorated with frills or bows. Harry was reminded unpleasantly of Umbridge's office.
"Cute, isn't it?" said Cho happily.
Yeah, said Harry, untruthfully.
"Look, She's decorated it for Valentine's Day,
said Cho, indicating a number of golden cherubs that were hovering over each of the small circular tables, occasionally throwing pink confetti at the occupants. Ah. They sat down at the last remaining table, which was situated in the steamy window. Roger Davies, the Ravenclaw Quidditch captain, was sitting about 1.5 feet away with a pretty blonde girl. They were holding hands. The sight made Harry feel uncomfortable, particularly when, looking around the tea shop, he saw that it was full of nothing but couples, all of them holding hands. Perhaps Cho would expect him to hold her hand.
"What can I get you, Madaz?"
said Madame Puttyfoot, a very stout woman with a shiny black bun, squeezing between their table and Roger Davies with great difficulty.
2 coffees, please, said Cho.
In the time it took for their coffees to arrive, Roger Davies and his girlfriend started kissing over their sugar bowl. Harry wished they wouldn't. He felt that Davies was setting a standard with which Cho would soon expect him to compete. He felt his face growing hot and tried staring out of the window, but it was so steamed up he could not see the street outside. To postpone the moment when he had to look at Cho, he stared up at the ceiling as though examining the paintwork and received a handful of confetti in the face from their hovering cherub. After a few more painful minutes, Cho mentioned Umbridge. Harry seized on the subject with relief, and they passed a few happy moments abusing her. But the subject had already been so thoroughly canvassed during DA meetings it did not last very long. Silence fell again. Harry was very conscious of the slurping noises coming from the table next door and cast wildly around for something else to say. Listen, do you want to come with me to the Three Broomsticks at lunchtime? I'm meeting Hermione Granger there. Cho raised her eyebrows.
You're meeting Hermione Granger? Today?
Yeah, well, she asked me to, so I thought I would. Do you want to come with me? She said it wouldn't matter if you did.
Oh, well, that was nice of her.
But Cho did not sound as though she thought it was nice at all. On the contrary, her tone was cold, and all of a sudden she looked rather forbidding. A few more minutes passed in total silence, Harry drinking his coffee so fast he would soon need a fresh cup. Next door, Roger Davies and his girlfriend seemed glued together by the lips. Cho's hand was lying on the table beside her coffee, and Harry was feeling a mounting pressure to take hold of it. Just do it, he told himself, as a fount of mingled panic and excitement surged up inside his chest. Just reach out and grab it. Amazing how much more difficult it was to extend his arm 12 inches and touch her hand than to snatch a speeding snitch from midair. But just as he moved his hand forward, Cho took hers off the table. She was now watching Roger Davies kissing his girlfriend with a mildly interested expression.
He asked me out, you know, she said in a quiet voice. A couple of weeks ago, Roger. I turned him down, though.
Harry, who had grabbed the sugar bowl to excuse his sudden lunging movement across the table, could not think why she was telling him this. If she wished she were sitting at the table next door being heartily kissed by Roger Davies, why had she agreed to come out with him? He said nothing. Their cherub threw another handful of confetti over them. Some of it landed in the last cold dregs of coffee Harry had been about to drink.
I came in here with Cedric last year, said Cho.
In the second or so it took for him to take in what she had said, Harry's insides had become glacial. He could not believe she wanted to talk about Cedric now, while kissing couples surrounded them and a cherub floated over their heads. Jo's voice was rather higher when she spoke again.
I've been meaning to ask you for ages. Did he mention me at all before he died?
This was the very last subject on earth Harry wanted to discuss, and least of all with Cho.